the last year's 2023 data statistics done for about top 100 companies spoke about that how DEI initiatives are being largely adapted by the non-tech organizations today. We always had a challenge in the count of gender diverse employees within the non-tech. Like if I talk about, you spoke about traditional automotive organizations, manufacturing, semiconductors, or even for that matter, your retail, logistics, these sectors, which were always low when it came to the diversity or inclusion for that matter. But I think, there are changes which are happening in the positive way. I still have, one, hindrance or rather doubt, let's put it that way. We still have a challenge of the mid-management level women dropping off careers, and we see a lot of pressure being built there. I think overall, if you talk about only tech as a sector, women in tech, then we have women in tech at mid-level. About 50% of the women drop at the age of about 30 or 35 years when they reach their second or third level job. Another 51% drop at the next level, which is the leadership or the TL level role. However, holistically also we've seen that the overall women, participation in the workforce is anywhere between about an average of 21% that we look at. What are still, we've been progressing like anything, we've been talking about adaptation. India moved digital 30 years prior to the planned date. We were supposed to be digitized in 2030. We digitized in 2020. We are today Make in India. We are today increasing our services. So being an agricultural company, in spite of being an agriculturally heavy company, our services are getting better, which will add back to our exports and increase our GDP. Everything is happening. Today, even the contribution of women in colleges, in engineering colleges, the seat, the dynamics of the seat changes from 5-7 years back to today is almost 50% increase. And now we see the involvement of not just women in fields which are more simpler, like for example, you'll see a maximum crowd would be mechanical, and then the drop, the computers, and then the drop line, and civil would be about one. I had a friend who those days was like she was the only one in her college, literally. That's changing now big time. You have women getting into infrastructure, you have women getting into electrical electronics. In spite of that, what are the most pressing issues today that women face, and what are the steps, as a woman one should take, aspiring to become leaders in their field?
I whenever someone asks me this question, I go back to that famous quote of Indra Nooyi, career clock versus biological clock. And it is so true. All of us have struggled to how to manage our professional career as well as how to manage our kids, our family, etc. So that's number one issue and reason why you see this decimal figure in terms of women rising the corporate ladder. Second is also women struggle to get support in transitioning to bigger roles.
True.
There is a lack of support in the ecosystem. I will not say specific to a gender, but there is a lack of support in the ecosystem itself. Maybe the way our cognitive biases work,
like that. Yeah.
There are many reasons that we can debate on that, but to be very specific, that's number two. Number three is our social expectation versus our professional pressure. That's ingrained specifically in Indian context. I'm not talking from the context of global perspective, but only specific to India. We have ample evidences. We can speak at length about who is going in the kitchen, why, etc. I don't want to touch that point. And coming to the fourth point is, if you see number of women networking versus number of men networking.
Yes.
Going out, meeting people, building a brand for themselves. Again, there is a huge gap which needs to be maintained there. Last but not the least, women themselves, I don't see support their own clan as much as the other counterparts. In fact, I'm trying to find out, I'm reading a lot of literatures here, I'm trying to understand what goes behind the mind, why women cannot support their own clan in the world where we know that our numbers are really less as compared to rest. And we are intelligent, it's not. We are meticulous, we are diligent, we means all of us together. Somewhere down the line, we need to solve this important 5-point checklist. If we can do that, probably our daughters next generation will not bear what we have gone through.
Of course, 100% agree with you, Rumo, on that. And I love Indra Nooyi, and that book is fantabulous. And I think that woman just highlights so many very critical and core and true issues out there. So, of course, the question is there. Ecosystem, I agree. I think women supporting women, absolutely. Another thing I'd like to add is also our own intrinsic ambition is considered as a disqualifier. It's not like I was very ambitious right from day one, right? And it was a disqualifier for my in-laws because, it was like, oh, she wants to, so who will look after the house? So when I got a career opportunity to go and transition something when my son was a year old and I had to travel to the US for the first time in my career, and it was a big deal. I was transitioning about 400 people, very young, all of 31 years old. And my mother-in-law and my father-in-law threw a tantrum. And I think at that point in time, my husband stepped in. I said, if she is getting this opportunity, I will stand by her and we will do whatever it takes to figure this out. And if you cannot cooperate, you're more than welcome to figure an alternative solution. But she is going, and she is not going to get this kind of an opportunity again. And if I were in her position, would you have even blinked an eye if I had to go for a professional assignment? It would have been assumed that, she will manage, she will become the de facto spouse. So why can't we just lend support once? And I think that has stayed with me. It's been more than 10 years, but that has stayed with me because that is one defining moment. And therefore, I say this again and again. We tend to underestimate the importance of selecting the spouse because, we want to underplay. And we also have very limited aspirations for ourselves. Like, even if there is an opening which requires me to relocate, and then you're like, no, it's just very comfortable because we don't want to step out the amount of things that we are trying to struggle and be good at. And even if a single ball is dropped, unfortunately, the men can get away with the bare minimum. Even if their children, unfortunately, I'm saying a worst case scenario, get into drugs, nobody's going to hold a father accountable. But God forbid if your child gets into alcohol or smoking or, any unethical or maybe, an advanced activity for their age. It is immediately the mother who will be blamed. I think as a mother, I am apologetic when I step into a class if my son's grades suffer by whatever, So I think we have to start by conditioning inside ourselves, looking inside. That is the first step because we can change the society. We can tell in-laws to change and we can tell men to change and all of that. But I think unless and until we ourselves stand in front of the mirror and say, you know what, I deserve this. I am worthy of this. And I should get it. Nothing is going to change for us because unless it's that very classic announcement in an aeroplane, right? You first rescue yourself, put that oxygen mask on your own self. And then so I learned this the hard way in life because I saw some very, dirty days during the pandemic because I just realized that I was having high cholesterol at such a young age with a fairly decent health. And I realized that I am heading for disaster if I continue juggling all these balls because at the end of the day, I'm human and it's okay to drop one ball every now and then. Unless we say it's okay to ourselves, right, we are never going to be able to say it's okay to the world. So for me, that is my key takeaway for all the women out there. It's okay. Kajol, in a very famous interview, said one thing which I just loved. That was my biggest takeaway from that interview. We play different roles every day, right? And I choose to be an excellent player of this particular role today. Yeah. So, for example, if I have a very important presentation, I choose to be a great professional that day. I choose to be. And that day, if I am not the greatest mother or the greatest housekeeper, I cut myself some slack there. Maybe my house is not going to be broomed and mopped for 2 days when I'm having that presentation. And it's okay. I'm not donning my best housekeeper hat that day, or I'm not donning my best mother hat that day. Absolutely. I choose to don that hat. And I choose to be excellent at the hat that I'm donning on a specific day. But I have to stop expecting from myself that I'm going to be excellent at donning all my hats at a great optimum level every day. Only then will we make peace with ourselves and allow others to make peace with us.
How organizations are enabling us. And I agree with one thing completely, that I think it is how you feel, what you think first, before expecting anyone else. And a very valid point that wherever possible, do make a choice of helping another woman, do make a choice of building another woman. I think that's the biggest contribution you can give back. Forget about training anyone else, forget about creating the difference, forget about putting across and struggling to be in that one meeting room where you have 10, 15 male colleagues, let's say, for example. But I think the most important thing is that even if you can bring one more woman to that meeting room, you've done your job.
Forward, right? I think like I decided in my team there was a girl who just recently came around from maternity break, and we are a kind of a pharma affiliated organization. We don't do work from home. We do work from office 5 days of the week. So my manager was like, okay, 6 months maternity leave. After that, you've given her 1 month extension. After that, you've given her 2 months work from home. Her daughter's almost 1. When is she coming back to the office? Because he's obviously older than me, right? So he's all the more, used to seeing people every day and wants to see that. You have to be the flag bearer of that change and you have to endorse it. I said, you know what, my team member, and it wasn't easy because, you are talking to the CEO of the organization.
Yeah.
So my team member, I will get the work deliverables out of her and I will manage this and I will take accountability. If something goes wrong in the portfolio that she's servicing,
Right.
I take accountability for it, but I want to give her this flexibility at this juncture of her life because she's not going to get this opportunity to be a young mother ever again.
Yeah.
And I want to pay it forward. So you have to take that stand. And then my manager backed off because I think that is where I think we as women, we are also very unsure. Oh, how should I do this? But this is the culture of the organization. Why can't we take a stand? If we are confident that this person is going to deliver, and if we can vouch for that, yes, sometimes it doesn't go as planned, right? But have the courage to take that stand for another woman. It's not just about supporting, it's about having the courage, which is a very different thing. Support is like, in my regular day, if I can help you, I'll help you a little bit. It's taking that stand and owning that stand that you can do this and I am 100% behind you. That woman also, you see, she just gets wings and she will soar.